The sun burned mercilessly over the land. Cracks formed on the dry soil, and the once lush fields of Raghav's village had turned into dust. The villagers gathered around the well, their only source of water. They peered inside. Empty. Bone dry. Panic set in. "We're doomed," someone whispered. A mother held her child close, fear in her eyes. The animals lay weak, struggling to survive. The crops were long dead. Raghav clenched his fists, staring at the sky. Why is this happening to us? Why would life be so cruel? He turned to his mentor, a wise elder, hoping for an answer, some kind of reassurance. But the old man simply said, "Everything happens for a reason." Raghav frowned. His heart burned with frustration. What reason could there possibly be for this suffering? He wanted to argue, to demand an explanation, but something in the elder's calm gaze made him pause. That night, Raghav sat outside his home, staring at the barren land. He thought about his options. Wait for rain? Leave the village? Then, the elder sat beside him. "Do you believe life is against you?" the elder asked. "What else am I supposed to believe?" Raghav replied bitterly. The elder chuckled softly. "Do you know what the earth does when it is thirsty?" Raghav shook his head. "It digs deep, and in the depths, it finds water." The words stayed with Raghav long after the elder had gone. That night, he made a decision. If water wouldn't come to them, he would find it himself. The next morning, Raghav picked up a shovel and walked to the dry well. The villagers watched as he plunged the blade into the earth. 1 hour passed. 2. The sun climbed high, scorching his back. People whispered. "He's lost his mind." Raghav's hands blistered. His arms ached. He could hear the doubt creeping into his own mind. Maybe they're right. Maybe this is pointless. But he kept digging. Day after day, he toiled. The pit grew deeper. Still, no water. Then, on the 7th day, he struck something. A trickle of water seeped through the earth, then a rush, then an explosion. A hidden spring burst forth, flooding the pit with fresh, pure water. The villagers ran, eyes wide with disbelief. Raghav had saved them. What once seemed like a disaster had led to a life-changing discovery. Had the drought never happened, they would have never found this hidden source of life. As Raghav watched the water flow, he remembered the elder's words. Everything happens for a reason. Far away in a great kingdom, a powerful king had his own misfortune. One day while hunting, he made a terrible mistake. His sword slipped and he cut his finger badly. Blood dripped onto the ground. The pain was sharp, the wound deep. Frustrated, he called his royal advisor. "Why did this happen to me?" The advisor, calm and wise, simply said, "Everything happens for a reason." The king was furious. "This is nonsense," he roared. "How can this injury be a good thing?" In his anger, he ordered the advisor to be thrown into prison. Days passed, and the king continued his journey into the forest. Something went terribly wrong. A hostile tribe ambushed him. They tied his hands, dragged him to their village. The tribe was preparing to sacrifice him to their gods. The king watched in horror as the ritual began. His heart pounded. This was the end. But then, one of the tribesmen noticed something. The king's hand was missing a finger. A murmur spread through the crowd. Their tradition was clear. Only a perfect body could be offered to the gods. The king was immediately set free. His injury had saved his life. At that moment, he realized his advisor had been right all along. The next day, he rushed to the prison and released his advisor. "You were right," the king admitted. "But tell me, how did being imprisoned help you?" The advisor smiled. "My king, if I had been free, I would have been with you during the hunt." The king's eyes widened. "Which means they would have sacrificed you instead of me." The advisor simply nodded. Everything happens for a reason. So what can we learn? From Raghav and the king, life's obstacles are not there to stop you. They are there to guide you, just like Raghav had to keep digging before he found water, and just like the king's injury protected him from death. Your struggles have a hidden purpose too. This is especially true when learning English. Every mistake, every challenge happens for a reason. Think about it. If learning English were easy, would you truly value it? Struggling with pronunciation? Feeling frustrated with grammar? That frustration means you're growing. Every mistake is proof that you are learning. It's just like Raghav digging for water. If he had stopped after the first day, after the first sign of failure, he would have never saved his village. Think of English like Raghav's well. If you stop now, you'll never reach fluency. But if you keep digging, keep learning, keep trying, you will find success. Remember this, everything happens for a reason. You might not see it now, but one day you will understand why. If this story inspired you, leave a comment saying, "Everything happens for a reason." And if you want more motivational stories like this, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. Keep learning, keep growing.